in the United States, where the unemployment rate for the month of April has come in at 14.7%. The figure is the worst rate since the Great Depression, as 20.5 million jobs vanished in a single month. The pandemic has resulted in the collapse of the U.S. Economy at breakneck speed. Back in February, the U.S. unemployment rate was at a 5-decade low. For more, we can go across to France 24's business editor, Bryan Quinn. Bryan, the unemployment rate at 14.7%. This is the worst rate, not since the Great Recession, but since the Great Depression.
That's right, Delano. It is a devastating number. And in fact, though, it's not as bad as many economists had been predicting that it could be. We've got 20.5 million jobs lost in the month of April. That's compared to previous estimates that were around 22 million. That does bring the U.S. unemployment rate to 14.7%, but that is less than the 16% that had been predicted. As you say, though, it's still easily the worst picture for American jobs since World War II. The only time the U.S. unemployment rate has been higher has been during the Great Depression, when it neared 25%. These monthly numbers are based on reports from both businesses and households. It makes them a clearer picture of the real losses than the weekly jobless claims reports that we get. They're still not the whole picture, though. There is another measurement called the, quote, real unemployment rate, which also takes into account people who have given up looking for work or who are underemployed in part-time jobs, not of their own accord. That is at an all-time high of 22.8%. Now, as you say, we must remember that prior to the coronavirus shutdown, the U.S. labor market had been in great shape. Unemployment rate at 50-year lows as recently as February. Essentially, what this latest report shows is that more than a decade's worth of jobs growth has been wiped out in the space of just 2 months. Now, the bright side here is that the U.S. Labor Department says the vast majority of the job losses in April's report are described as, quote, temporary layoffs, and that means those jobs could theoretically come back when lockdowns start to ease and the economy gets going again. And markets are seemingly optimistic about this scenario. We've seen U.S. stock indexes actually jump at the open in New York. So investors seem to be betting that the worst is over, but there is no guarantee for that. A 14.7% unemployment rate is still a devastating number for the U.S.
Indeed. Thank you very much for that, Bryan. Bryan Quinn there. Now, France will begin to ease